Hi, welcome to the foundation course on communication and soft skills. The agenda that we dealt with yesterday was on intonation and rhythm. So we'll do a quick recap about the same topic and we'll certainly move on to something very important which has been lined up for today. So going ahead and understanding the very reason that we are here is to make a communication very effective, and the attempt for the overall communication effectiveness can only happen about the topics that we have dealt with, topics such as pronunciation, enunciation, to get the sounds correct, the word stress, for that matter, where do I stress and which part of the word do I stress, and give the word in a correct context. So these are the components that can make you an effective speaker. If you didn't get a chance to go through my other video tutorials, I would suggest you, in order to have continuity in your learning towards this entire course of communication and soft skills foundation course, I would recommend please go through our previous tutorials, and then you may be able to link it with the present topic that we are dealing with for today. So yesterday we have dealt with something on intonation and rhythm, which is nothing but the music to the language. So how do I give music to the language that can sound something really interesting, and it can also sound something a cliche, because this is something have been said and done every time, that I have to give the right music, the right tone to English communication to make it effective. So what do I keep in mind is, the language standards follow something very specific to English, and that's something we have to time and again follow it as a standard. And unfortunately, I cannot get the rhythm that I use in my Indian languages. Specifically, you have to talk about maybe Hindi, Telugu, if that has been the first language for you all. So the quick revision on intonation, recall a lecture, a time where you had to really sit through a lecture where you were not interested, and it was all boring, it was monotonous, it didn't really hold your attention. It was purely because there was no intonation in the, with the speaker. So keeping in mind the very reason people who actually impress you in communication are the set of people who follow intonation and rhythm in specific, and they follow it so naturally that you cannot even figure out that there was certain music attached to the language. So coming back to the same example of the boring lecture that I'm talking about, I'm sure we all relate to this fact. There was one lecture in your life that you heard of in the college, or in the school days, or maybe on television, maybe something you heard of from your friends, family, or distant relatives, that this person made it very boring. The speaker could not hold the attention of the audience. It was primarily because of intonation. Similarly, recall an instance where you were just mesmerized by the speaker, one statement, one line, and you would just wow about it. And that happens because the person was able to primarily get the intonation and rhythm in the speech. So going forward, when you all have this ability and you want to really kickstart your conversational sense and making it more standard, let's follow intonation and rhythm accurately and make a difference in your communication. So moving on to something lined up for today, past tense word ending. So that's the topic that I like to begin, and consecutively we'll have a couple of more videos lined up. So all you have to keep in mind, one fact, that we all have this tendency to stress the word towards the end. So we end up using word pronunciation which is incorrect, especially for the past tense words, where we end up stretching it a lot, where we give a lot of stress and emphasis, sounding it very peculiar and sounding it incorrect too. So keeping in mind, let me give out a few mispronounced words from the word endings of ed. So words such as looked, words such as booked are all incorrect in pronunciation, because I am stressing, I am emphasizing intensely towards the end of the word. So keeping in view the same aspect, today the topic has been brought into your attention, and I really would like you all to go through this topic, because this can certainly help you again to build up that ladder of effective communication and make your conversation positive, make it you can make it more presentable, and you can actually ease the ears of the listener. So let's look at the set of words that we have here on the board and understand why it is important for me to go ahead and learn. So there are a lot of words in English language which takes the ed form when it turns to be a past tense, that is an action which has been completed. The present tense words that I have brought in here today are these set of words. So I see words such as clap, bake, touch, rush, puff and surface. So these are the words for the present. The same set of words, if they are translated or made to make a past tense sense, then these words would take a ed form to it. So clap will become a clapped, bake would become a ed form again, ed form to make it past, and again surface to make it past. So keeping in view of the list of words that we have here, so word endings in English language follows a certain specific pattern. The pattern is very simple. If my word ends with a voiceless sound, I give the pronunciation for the past tense word as t sound. I repeat, if my word ends with a voiceless sound, a devoiced sound or an unvoiced sound, I give the pronunciation as closest to the T form. Example, I see these set of words which end with consonant sounds such as p, k, ch, sh, f and s. All these are the set of voiceless sounds. When I say voiceless, I would recommend hold your hand on your throat and sense if there is a vibration. So words, sounds such as p, sounds such as k, ch, sh, f and s has no vibration to it. Hence, these are voiceless sound, devoiced sound in English language. So these set of words with the past tense ed form will take the pronunciation of the t sound. So simple. Keeping in mind, a clapped will become a clapped as a pronunciation, giving the correct pronunciation to this word. Bake would become baked. Touch would become touched. Rush would become rushed. Puff would become puffed and surface would become surfaced. So it is not clapped, it is not baked, all mispronounced words. Touched, it is incorrect again. So I cannot say rushed, I cannot say puffed, I cannot say surfaced. So I give a very subtle th sound to it. The only logic is because these sounds, these are voiceless sounds, and English language follows a pattern for word endings where your words, in case they end with voiceless sound, they all take a t sound to it. Similarly, when we look at the other set of words that we have for today, that is words such as arrive, words such as water, words such as blame, instill, stay and cry. So keeping these words in mind, like I said, word endings follow a certain specific rule. In case my word ending ends with a voiced sound where there is a vibration, where I sense vibration, then I simply follow one rule, which is I take the pronunciation as dh. So when I add ed form to it, it will turn to be a past tense, that is an action which is completed. So let's look at these words and learn the pronunciation together. So words such as arrive would become arrived. It takes the dh sound. Now these set of words take th sound and these set of words take your dh sound because these words are ending with a vibrating sound or a voiced consonant sound. Words such as v is a voiced sound, r is a voiced sound, m has a vibration through nasal cavity, l is a voiced sound, ya is a vibrating sound again, ya again is a vibrating sound. So these set of words, when I add the ed form, it will turn to be a past form to the present word, and the words are pronounced as arrived, watered, blamed, instilled, installed, stayed and cried. Once again, the words are arrived, watered, blamed, installed, stayed, cried. So keeping these things in view, let's be very focused on the fact that either it takes a th sound or the dh sound when we are giving the pronunciation for the word endings, which either ends with ed or ends with ed form primarily. So words ending with th and dh, in English language. So words such as neglect, words such as subject, words such as treated. So these all take again a different word pronunciation, that is an ID form to it. So words such as treated, neglected, subjected. So words ending with t and d either take ID form or IT form accordingly. So I have to keep in mind each time when I am pronouncing these words, I have to get these logic attached to it. Like I keep repeating this, you don't even have to remember the number of rules that I'm teaching in English pronunciation. All you have to do is start listening to the native speakers, people who are good at language, news channels, and any international news hour debate that can certainly assist you to pick up language and help you to apply language each time when you're making that attempt to speak English. So we have lot of rules in English language. Like rules, we also have exceptions in English language attached to it too. So keep in mind next time when you are in the all set to start off an excellent conversational ability attempt, that can only happen when I apply all these logic and techniques to it. So this is the word ending rule that I set. And one more thing to really add by is words ending with AGE. So let me make a note of it for your benefit. So words ending with AGE, that is message, baggage, language, language is something, luggage, okay. So words ending with AGE has a different pronunciation rule that we follow, that is we take these words very close to the IJ form, that is a message would not be read as message, but instead we cut it to a level to make it more crisper, more specific, that is a word is pronounced as message, baggage, language, luggage, cabbage, because it's very close to the IJ form in terms of pronunciation. Words ending with ACE. So words such as surface, preface. So it doesn't take these pronunciation, but instead it will take surface, preface, and yeah, further on. So I just have to keep in mind that any word ending with either has a AGE or a ACE, I have to give it a very subtle enunciation to it. I don't have to stress the entire word ending to make it sound very hard to the listener's ears, and it will be very difficult in order to get the sound up. So keep in mind next time when you're giving word endings in your conversation. So moving on to understand intonation and rhythm in specific again. So we can go ahead and understand more about this. So once again, the rise and fall of pitch is nothing but intonation, and to convey the meaning that you want to convey in your text, in your or else in your conversation. Specifically, intonation is only used for conversation, because when you're talking is where you make it either a rise tone or either you make the tone fall to give a specific meaning to it. So keeping in mind that in simpler words, intonation is nothing but the speech to or the music to the language, and this can help you to be by far make you the most effective speaker. And while you are intonating, while you are giving the intonation to the speech, you have to keep few things very specific in mind, things such as volume of the conversation. Let me make a note of it. such as pitch. Okay, to begin with, volume is nothing but the loudness of your voice. So we all have the ability to speak louder. We can actually increase the decibel of our sound and make it sound louder, or you can really go down in your volume level as well, and totally depends on the communication, the conversation that you're giving out is where your volume level has to change and be balanced out. And to understand about pitch, pitch is God gifted. It is nothing but the shrillness of your voice, and this is more or less we can't do much on. We cannot much change the pitch because, like I said, it's God gifted. Keeping in mind the other word which is very closest to intonation to understand is the word tone. It's nothing but your expression, that is the emotions that you carry in your speech. So when you're sad, your tone shows up. When you're happy, your tone shows up. So keep in mind these views every time you're conveying a message. When you have a smile, when you have the right tone, you have to give out information which is more appealing, more positive and more acknowledged. So when you want to try and convey something which is something you're sad and unhappy about it, your tone has to be incongruent to what you're conveying. That is, it has to match what you're trying to convey. So when I want to convey something that somebody passed away, and I certainly can't give a smile in my conversation to give out this message that somebody is has died or somebody has passed away. So be mindful of this fact, because these things can lead to a lot of confusion, can lead to something dire consequences. That is, you might be labeled as a person who lacks emotions, who's disrespectful or who's unprofessional too. So just be aware of this. So the sentence is nothing but a group of words. So each time I follow this sentence rule, that is the word stress, which is going to be our next topic lined up for today, I need to follow these three words completely in my speech and get it up in terms of understanding. Tone is something I can vary my tone. You need to have a varied tone. Pitch is something I can certainly look in, but like I said, it's God gifted. Volume is something, either I can increase the volume basis on the response of the audience, or maybe if I want to convey something, and if I'm high on emotion, obviously your volume goes up. So if you look up to any public speaker in the world, if they want to convey something which is high on emotions, and it's very emotionally touched or sensitized conversation, the volume automatically goes up, and that's where they touch the heart of the listeners, the heart of the audiences, and hence the speech is highly acknowledged, and we will start following them, and people start respecting the fact that these set of politicians or the public speakers are for them and are assisting them, or they are for the betterment of the society, or they are there in terms of being with them. So moving on to understand the word emphasis, that is how I emphasize certain power of syllables in word stress. That can also help me to make my intonation more effective. Sentence stress, certainly. Word stress is something we have already dealt with enough examples, where we have spoken highly about if I stress on the first part of the word and the second part of the word, I convey a different meaning, I convey a different word altogether. So keeping in view these things, intonation counters all about a distinctive pattern of changes in pitch, such as stress or tone as well. For example, when asking a question, the pitch goes up. So the rule is very simple in English language. When you're asking a question, your pitch goes up. So what is your name? So when I'm asking this as a question, my pitch has to follow a rise tone. I cannot go down, for simple reason. If I go down, then I'm giving out a statement. So a lot of Indian languages, the challenge has been always this, that we do not have intonation pattern, or rather we have an intonation pattern which is standard for questions and statements. Be it Hindi, Telugu, Punjabi, Tamil as Indian languages. For that matter, a lot of international languages as well, we have different intonation pattern to it. But in English, each time you ask a question, your tone should go up. That is, your volume should be up, and it will go down towards the end of the question. Example, what is your name? What did you eat for dinner last night? Where do you work? So I start with the high pitch and I go down. Likewise, your statements should go down. So my name is whatever, I know, XYZ. I had dinner yesterday at my relative's place. I work at a university. So what am I doing in these statements? I'm going down in terms of giving out the information. My tone has fallen and did not rise, because that is not the technique that we follow. So keep these things in mind each time when you are practicing or probably giving out a question or a sentence to it. So the other thing to keep in mind after explaining, now that we have spoken so much about modulation of intonation and word stress, the other thing to keep in mind is the modulation part. So how do I modulate when I'm giving out information? That is, how do I change and make it more emphasized, a few specific words and sentences to sound these are the important words and these are the important takeaways for the listener. Okay, so intonation is something, some languages such as French and other languages which has a different stress pattern, stress the end of a sentence and then use word order to indicate an important change. So other languages, international languages, have a very different technique that they follow, that is they stress towards the end part of the question, but English doesn't follow that rule, keeping in mind. Understand sentence stress in English is very important to understand any speaker to make your conversation more effective. So this is it about intonation. I would really recommend you guys to go through the word specific list that I gave you about word endings, and this has to be all applied in communication, in conversation. And how do I do it? Like, we are in the era of technology and digital world. Start recording your voice, start recording your conversation with regard to the video series that we had from day one, that is pronunciation, words, word stress, word endings, intonation, rhythm. Try and see, maybe first attempt when you record, you should only focus on sounds. The same recording speech without differing the topic. Second time when you're recording, see if you can emphasize and be more specific about the vowel sounds, where you do not give an extra stress and you give that right stress and you use the right enunciation technique while you're giving out that specific words. So words such as call, C-A-L-L is call, but it cannot be replaced with a R sound instead of a O sound. When I replace it with R sound, it will become a call, which is incorrect word, and incorrect pronounced word, which is tough for the listener to understand. So the second recording, like I said, keep in mind the specific thing that is vowel sounds that you'll be focusing on. Same recording, that is, when I say same recording, I mean the same content that you're speaking. Next time when you're talking, focus only on word stress. And then the same paragraph that you spoke, that you recorded, focus on intonation, rhythm, keeping in mind the music of the language that is specific to it. And the next recording, which is the fifth time that you're recording your conversation, try and see if you can focus on word endings that we have discussed right now, making it more subtle, not making it harsh, and not giving that hard consonant word endings. So keep that in mind. And yeah, so moving on, this is going to be your fifth recording, and then go back, re-listen, and make a note of what specific feedback that you're supposed to work on next time if given an opportunity. The sixth recording that you'll be doing as self-practice is something you have to really focus on, the fact that everything is being applied, that is right from the consonant sounds to your vowel sounds, your word stress, your word endings, your intonation and rhythm. Most important, you need to avoid any thinking sounds and fog horns, something we have discussed. A conversation which doesn't have thinking sound is most unlikely, but you cannot overdo a thinking sound routine, because you might end up distracting the listener. Likewise, foghorns are nothing but your thinking sounds, and fillers as well. So we all have this tendency to have this one favorite word of yours each time when you're communicating. So what we end up doing is, no, we'll have this particular word which constantly comes up, either to allow us to think about the next part of content that we are thinking, or either to make it sound that you are in the flow of conversation. So we all have this favorite one word. So avoid fillers as well to make your communication effective. Now this is one of the beautiful method to get your self development role in terms of getting your conversation up. We certainly have certain specific topics aligned to make again your pronunciation more effective and more appealing to the listener. So like I said, I repeat, in your self development plan, when you're self practicing communication at your level, this is the stage that we are recommending after going through all the knowledge transfer that we have given on consonant sounds, on vowel sounds, on word stress, on intonation, rhythm, word endings. You're supposed to in specific be careful when you're applying these techniques, and then an overall technique of applying the logic of consonant sounds, your vowel sounds, your word endings, and more specific with regard to what we have discussed today, the intonation and rhythm. Try and see if you see a change in your communication, and try and explore what is the change, and this can certainly help you to be where you are and where you want to go in terms of desiring to be an effective speaker. Most importantly, guys, these series that we are conducting today here at APSSDC is to make you interview ready, to help you in your day-to-day conversation, to help you crack your interviews, your discussion, to make your day-to-day conversation effective. And these things can only happen when you start applying it. The application part in communication training is most important, and it cannot be devoted. That is, if I just listen to these lectures and if I make notes and probably I do a little practice back home, it cannot help you to be a good speaker. But certainly when you go back, apply it with constant and repeat revisions and recaps, that can help you to be a good conversant, and make your conversation ability more sailing through, and desiring it to be who you are. So this brings towards almost the end of what we are talking about for today, that is intonation, rhythm, word endings. In the consecutive video tutorial, we will certainly talk and pick up on the most important topic, which is called sentence stress. And why it is important, because this is still part of your conversation. Now that we have spoken so much about word, when I'm putting these words collectively, I make sense, and the definition for the word sentence is nothing but it's a group of meaningful words. So when I'm giving out sentences too, I should keep in mind where do I stress specifically to make it sound more effective, to make the conversation more acceptable. So let's hold on to the next video tutorial that we will be coming forward today after this session immediately. So I would really like you all to tune in to understand more about this topic, and go ahead, practice with all the topics that you have learned of. Maybe a quick recap about the words that we have just spoken. So once again, the word endings. English rule follows a specific word ending, that is, in case the word ends with a voiceless sound, it takes the t sound as a pronunciation, and in case your word endings end with a vibrating or a voiced sound, it usually takes your d sound as part of the word pronunciation during the word ending. In case the words end with t and d towards the end, words such as subject, neglect, treated, words in specific to it, to keep in mind, these words will take either the id form or the it form depending on the words which have been ended. So again, it's a quick recap for you all to go back, listen and understand what are the set of sounds in English language which take specific vibration and few sounds which do not take vibration. And why do we term them as voiceless? Why do we term them as voiced sound? This is going to be the ground and base for your communication effectiveness. In case this is not done effectively, then you might not be able to get the desired result to be a good speaker, a great speaker. So that is the only suggestion that I have, and let's call it end of this video tutorial. And the suggestion is to hold on for the next one, which is the most important topic that we will be starting for today. So thank you for watching. If you have any specific questions, do look up in terms of writing us back in the comment box. And we do have certainly an expert team where we can get in touch with you to give you the specific answers to the questions. And keep watching and keep learning. So happy learning for once again. Thank you.